The pen is cheap plastic. It clicks too loud in the quiet room. You are 26 years old, sitting at a folding table in a 350 square foot apartment on the wrong side of the tracks. The lease says $1,900 a month. Your checking account shows exactly $10,842. That is everything you have. You sign the paper. Your hand doesn't shake, but looking back, it probably should have. You didn't just sign a lease that day. You signed a resignation letter. You had spent the last 3 years at a mid-sized logistics firm, making $64,000 a year. Your boss, a well-meaning woman named Linda, had just pulled you into her office to tell you about your 5-year trajectory. She showed you a spreadsheet. If you stayed, if you grinded, if you played the game perfectly, in 5 years, you'd be making $115,000. She smiled. She thought she was giving you a gift. You went home that night and opened your own spreadsheet. You ran the numbers on a $115,000 salary in your city, after taxes, after the inevitable lifestyle creep, after the 401k match. The math didn't say freedom. The math said a slightly nicer cage. A corporate career doesn't compound your wealth. It compounds your dependency. Time is a finite resource, but a salary puts a hard cap on it. So, on a random Thursday, you handed in your badge. Linda looked genuinely confused. You didn't feel brave. You just felt like the math had finally made sense. The first 6 months of building a business are not glamorous. They are humiliating. You buy a used desk for $75. You eat generic brand pasta because it costs $1.20 a box. You watch your old coworkers on Instagram, posting pictures from rooftop bars, celebrating their director promotions. You close the app. You open your CRM. You stop measuring your life in PTO days. You start measuring it in closed deals. Your first client pays you $2,500 for a project that takes you 2 weeks of 14-hour days. You feel like a king, but you are exhausted. You are trading your time for money just like you did at the old job, except now you don't get health insurance. Then comes the first real shift. You hire a freelancer named Mark. He lives in Ohio. He's faster than you, and he doesn't complain about the parts of the work you hate. You wire him $4,000 for a month of work. You stare at the confirm transfer button for a full minute before clicking it. It hurts to see that much cash leave your account. But when the work comes back and it's better than what you would have done, something clicks in your brain. You didn't just pay for Mark's time, you paid to clone your brain. You bought a copy of yourself. A job pays you to be physically present. A business pays you to build a system that works when you are absent. The day the machine runs without you is the day you actually become a business owner. By year 3, your revenue hits $600,000. You move into a real office. You hire a full-time operator named Sarah. You pay yourself $90,000, and you leave the rest in the business bank account. You don't buy a BMW. You don't buy a Rolex. You buy a really good ergonomic chair because your back hurts. Meanwhile, your old coworker, David, hits a massive milestone. He makes VP. His salary jumps to $145,000. He posts a humble brag on LinkedIn. Everyone comments, well deserved. You are genuinely happy for him. But you can't turn off the math. David's $145,000 is taxed at the highest bracket. It arrives in 26 tiny increments. And to maintain the lifestyle expected of a VP, he is spending $12,000 a month. He doesn't own his life. He rents it from his employer. If the company restructures on a Tuesday, David's entire existence collapses by Friday. You write this down in a notebook. Income is what hits your bank account. Wealth is what stays when the income stops. A career protects your income. A business protects your wealth. You close the notebook. You go back to work. But it's not a straight line up. It never is. Year 4 is a disaster. Your best employee quits to go to a competitor. Your biggest client, worth 30% of your revenue, just stops answering emails. No explanation. They just vanish. Revenue drops by 25%. You wake up at 4:15 a.m. on a Tuesday, your chest tight, staring at the ceiling. You go to the kitchen and drink a glass of tap water in the dark. This is the moment they don't tell you about in the YouTube videos. In a corporate job, you are paid to manage other people's stress. Your boss yells, you absorb it. In a business, you are paid to generate your own survival. The anxiety is entirely yours. It sits on your chest. You have to fire a contractor. You have to tell Sarah you can't give her a raise. You feel like a failure. Your friends with their safe salary jobs are getting 4% cost of living adjustments and complaining about their bosses. You would trade all the security in the world just to have a boss tell you what to do for a week. But you don't quit. You rebuild. You realize that losing that big client wasn't a fatal blow. It was a $150,000 tuition payment. The lesson? You had built the business to rely too heavily on one person. That was your fault, not the client's. You fix the leak, you diversify, you survive. And somewhere in that dark year, the desire for security dies. You realize security is just an illusion employees buy with their freedom. Year 6. Revenue is $1.5 million. Profit is $500,000. You have a team of 10. You haven't done the actual work in 2 years. Your job is now just arranging the work. You sit in meetings about strategy. You sign contracts. You manage the culture. You take a vacation, a real one. 11 days in a small coastal town, no laptop, no Slack. On the 4th day, you are sitting at a cafe, drinking a $3 espresso. You feel a phantom vibration in your pocket. The urge to check the dashboard is physical. It takes actual willpower to keep the laptop closed. You don't open it. When you get back, nothing has burned down. The machine hummed along perfectly. Something inside you, a knot of tension that has been there for 6 years, loosens just a fraction of an inch. You realize there are 3 versions of a business. Version 1 is a job you can't quit. Version 2 is a job you can leave. Version 3 is an asset you can sell. Most people build version 1 and call it a day. You finally built version 2. You stopped being the company and started owning it. Year 8. A private equity firm approaches you. The guy across the table is wearing a suit that costs more than your first car. He offers you $4.5 million for 60% of the company. He tells you, "We like the margins, we like the team, but mostly we like that you are no longer essential to the daily operations." He says it like it's a compliment. You take it as one. Because he's right. The moment you became non-essential was the moment the business became an asset. You negotiate, you don't take the first deal, you take a slightly smaller deal 6 months later, but with better terms, keeping 30% equity and a consulting role. The wire hits your account on a Friday in November. $2.2 million. After taxes, after fees, after the lawyers take their cut, you sit at your expensive ergonomic chair, you look at the number, you wait for the confetti, the tears, the massive surge of dopamine. It doesn't come. Instead, you feel a profound, heavy quiet. And then you realize what that quiet is. It's the absence of fear. It's the realization that no one can ever fire you again. The money isn't the payoff. The money is just the receipt. The real payoff was the last 8 years of sleeping soundly because you controlled your own destiny. You are 34 now. You have a 2-year-old daughter. Today is Wednesday. It is 3:14 in the afternoon. You are walking into her daycare to pick her up early just because you wanted to take her to the park. No one is emailing you. No one is scheduling your Wednesday. A corporate job sells you your weekends. A business, if you survive the crucible, buys you your Wednesdays. You look at your daughter and you know that none of this would make sense to the 26-year-old who signed that cheap lease with a plastic pen, and you don't try to explain it. Because across town, in a tiny apartment on the wrong side of the tracks, a 26-year-old is currently staring at a spreadsheet, realizing the math of her corporate job doesn't add up. She's about to make a terrifying decision. It always starts there. It always will.